Hi, class. Today I'm continuing our grammar review. So this is part 2 of the grammar lecture. Now, verb tenses come in several different varieties. Of course, the primary ones are present, past, and future tense. You also have different forms within those tenses: simple, perfect, and progressive. While you may not always remember all of those different types or be able to name what they are, you do use them in everyday speech. Now, let's take a look at a few examples. Present perfect links the present and the past. So the time of action is before now, but it isn't specified. It isn't a specific moment in time. We're describing a general amount of time. So an example would be, I have lived in Lafayette since 2011. And when you say I have lived, you are saying I still do live here. Or I lived in Lafayette since 20. I lived in Lafayette would be past tense. I previously lived there, but I do not live there anymore. Now, present perfect also is an action performed during a period continuing in the present. For example, she has been to the movies twice this week means that she has been twice and the week isn't over yet. So it's a continuing period of action. And a repeated action in an unspecified period between the past and now would be, we have visited Portugal several times. So you have visited Portugal. When did you visit? Sometime between an unspecified past and now. Present perfect versus simple past. Use the simple past when giving details such as when, where, or who. So, as in our previous example, if you say, I lived somewhere, that is simple past. If you say, I have lived, you are in present perfect. Here, you can compare, I have lived in Lyon versus I lived in Lyon in 1989. Or they have eaten Thai food versus they ate Thai food last night. So simple past specifying a specific moment in the past. Present perfect, we're talking about something that happened in the past but is continuing in the present. Another example, if you are discussing, let's say you went to see a play, have you seen Othello, or where did you see Othello? We have been to Ireland. When did you go to Ireland? Now for articles modify nouns. It's a, an, or the. The defines a specific article. A and an are used as indefinite articles. That means we are not specifying a specific item when we are talking. So if I say, let's read the book, I mean a specific book. So often when you have that kind of specific article, definite article, you're talking about let's read the class textbook. So when you build those sentences, think about other questions your audience might have about the items in context. Another example, if I say, let's read a book, I mean any book rather than a specific book. You can even specify within a particular group. Like if you say, let's read a sci-fi book, we're still talking about sci-fi books in general, but you're specifying a little more for your audience while still needing that indefinite article because you aren't being specific about which book they need to read. So when to use the specific nouns, the book, the Italians, the diner. The articles a and an, which one should I use? A is used for a singular noun beginning with a consonant. So a boy, a car, a zoo. A singular a plus a singular noun beginning with a consonant sound. So this on paper may be a word starting with a vowel. However, when you pronounce it, you would say, in this case, a university has that consonant Y sound. Therefore, we are using the article a instead. This is part of why it's really important to review your work and read it out loud. When you read it out loud, you can catch mistakes where you may have, let's say, written an instead of a, because you hear it and you say, oh, I said an user, but an user doesn't make sense because it has that consonant Y sound. So we need to say a user. Now for an, and sorry, we also have a plus noun starting with a pronounced H. So a hospital, a horse. I know sometimes, especially for ESL learners, learning which one to use, a or an, can be very difficult because you have the sometimes you'll have similarities between words in different languages. Like my grandma is Hispanic and she has trouble with words like hospital with the pronounced H. So it's something you learn over time. Just again, like I said, reading out loud is going to help a lot. And often also having a friend check your work will help too. Now for an, we have an preceding singular nouns beginning with a vowel. So an elephant, an egg, an apple, an orphan. An plus nouns starting with a silent H. So you would use an in front of a word like our. However, since in English we pronounce the H in hospital, you still have a hospital. So here's the test you can use when you're deciding whether or not your sentence is complete. Is it a complete sentence or is it a sentence fragment? So first, we start with the question, is there a verb? If there is not a verb, then it is a fragment. You can have sentences with just a verb. For example, when you tell someone go is a verb, but you have the understood subject of you because you are talking to someone and you are telling them go. So let's say we review our sentence, we see there is a verb. Is there a subject? No, then it's a fragment. So you need to revise and define your subject, or possibly turn it into a compound sentence. Not a compound sentence. You want to go back and create probably a compound predicate with another sentence, or possibly write your subject and make this fragment into a complete sentence. Is the word group merely a subordinate clause or phrase? Yes, then it's a fragment. Now, what do I mean when I say subordinate clauses or phrases? I'm talking about when you have a clause or phrase. Often they're ones that begin sentences. For example, when you say, when I took the test, well, you still have a sentence there, I took the test. However, because you are saying when I took the test, you are telling your audience, hey, this is the beginning of a statement, and you need to have some kind of conclusion added onto it. So if your collection of words passes this test here, then you have a complete sentence. So again, that's making sure you have a verb, you have a subject, even if it's an understood subject, as in the sentence go, because we are understanding you go. Or if it's a word group with a subordinate clause or phrase, you can say, when I took the test, I forgot to write my name. That would be a complete sentence, including an introductory clause that needs to have some other kind of complete sentence following it. So if it passes all these questions, then yes, it is a sentence. And again, if you find you do have a fragment somewhere in this test, go back and either attach the fragment to a nearby sentence, either creating that compound predicate or possibly changing a clause into its own sentence, or possibly creating a sentence by adding the missing verb or subject, or yeah, turn it into the fragment into a sentence. Now, run-on sentences. Does the sentence contain two independent clauses, word groups that can be punctuated as sentences? If it doesn't, then it isn't a problem. Now, if it does have two independent clauses, and when I say independent clauses, again, I am not talking about those dependent clauses like when I took the test. You need to have something. If I'm saying, if I write, I took the test and I forgot to write my name, those are two separate ideas that can be punctuated as independent clauses. They can stand alone, or you can put them together. Now, are the clauses joined with a comma and a coordinating conjunction? So we're talking and, but, or, nor, for, so, or yet? No. Are the clauses joined with a semicolon or a colon or a dash? If they are not, then you have a comma splice or a fused sentence. So again, you're checking to make sure that all the pieces of your sentence fit together and work as an understandable unit for your audience. Apostrophes. Now, apostrophes are only for possessive nouns ending in S. So whenever you are using apostrophes for a family, let's say the Smiths, and you want to talk about the Smiths dog, you have the letter S at the end of their name normally, correct? Then you add an apostrophe after. So no apostrophe S in this instance. So you would say the Smiths apostrophe dog. Last name is Smiths with an S. Smiths apostrophe S dog means their last name is Smith. So again, if you have a proper noun, a last name where you're trying to show possession and the name ends in S, you only include the apostrophe. If you're talking about a group and the group noun ends in S, that would be girls, S apostrophe toys. So that's several girls who own several toys. If you say girl apostrophe S toys, girls toys, that's one girl with several toys. So S apostrophe is multiple, or it's a last name ending in S. Apostrophe S is a name not ending in S, or a single noun owning an item. Farther and further. Now, in the past, these have been interchangeable. However, over the years, they've grown to each have their own uses. Farther normally refers to physical distance. So we would say he walked farther into the woods. Further refers to an extension of time or degree. She will look further into the mystery. So further, we're talking about time or degree. Farther, you're normally referencing physical distance. Pronoun references. Now, when you look at pronouns, you want to make sure that you are using enough nouns or proper nouns in your sentence to make the meaning clear. In this example, sometimes a list of ways to save energy is included with the gas bill. For example, they suggest setting a moderate temperature for the hot water heater. So that was the original sentence. Whenever you have this they, we don't understand who is they, who are they. So you want to define it by saying, for example, comma, the gas company. And then, of course, you have to change your verb to suggest setting a moderate temperature for the hot water heater. In the second example, we're talking about an encyclopedia. Now it says, it starts out originally with, I think this wasn't quite right. Well, anyway, what I was trying to say is it states that male moths can smell female moths from several miles away. If we say it, we don't know what it is. Therefore, you need to come in and say what we're talking about. Now, even if you say in the encyclopedia, it states, you're still adding words where you don't really need them. So you would go back and say the encyclopedia states, because you don't need that extra little prepositional phrase at the beginning. In the encyclopedia, it states. You're just really convoluting things. You don't need to add that extra step. Just tell people what it is. The encyclopedia states that male moths can smell female moths from several miles away. Now, here's a list of outside resources I recommend. Of course, the ones I have are slightly older editions. Please, if it's within, if you want to look up newer versions, go ahead. The Strunk and White Elements of Style is a great resource whenever you have to do a lot of writing. A writer's reference also comes in handy. It has a lot of tabbed sections and reviews a lot of mistakes people make. I've used it when I have to do a lot of in-depth writing or any corrections or anything, and I want to double check myself. And The Elements of Grammar by Margaret Schertzer is another great resource. So feel free to look those up. These are optional resources you may want to invest in, especially if you are someone who is going to have to write a lot more papers in the future outside of this class. I strongly recommend one or all of these resources. All right. I will see you guys later.